next section has to do with the manners of reciting. It says the person that wants to read the Quran, then of course they should be in a state of purity with wudu. They should observe as manners as much as possible. The manner of holding their body is that they bow their head. When they're sitting, it's not done like we are, cross-legged, but it's done what's referred to mutarabbi'an, which is to sit cross-legged, but it's done like the student when he sits to his teacher, and that's done up on your knees, like you are sitting in prayer. Asnada rukbatayhi ila rukbatayhi, as the Prophet ﷺ came to Jibreel, or Jibreel came to the Prophet ﷺ and put his knees upon his knee, close to his knees, where you're sitting like you sit in the prayer. And you don't read the Quran muttaki wala jalis ala hay'at al-mutakabbir. You don't read while you're lying on your side. You don't read the Quran while you're sitting in a way that is like someone that is arrogant. Mutakabbir is, some of them refer to when you sit with your leg over your leg. You come in and you pop your leg over the top, you know. It's a little bit, yeah, like that. Yeah. Because that was considered, maybe not culturally today, but that was considered at some point to be a sign of arrogance. The best the best is to read in your prayer standing. وَأَنْ يَكُونَ فِي الْمَسْجِدِ, and to be while you're in the masjid. So, if you're going to recite the Quran, this is the thing. If you have the intention to recite the Quran, then the best thing to do is recite it while you're praying. And then you can do two things at one time. Right? You need to try and multiply your reward as much as possible. احتسبوا أعمالكم. Umar al-Khattab said, take account to your actions. Take account. Try and maximize your effort. Right? So even if you have to hold the Mus'haf, right? So you begin, Allahu Akbar, and you read. You read what you wanted to read. And then when you get to a point, maybe you're tired, Allahu Akbar. And then you come back and you begin again, Rak'ah Thaniyah. And like that you carry on. And even if you don't want to stand because you become tired, well then you sit down and pray. And then you read. And then you carry on reading and praying at the same time. As long as it's not during a time of prohibition, which we've mentioned previously. You can do that. And that's important to note, that praying sitting down during the voluntary prayers is permissible. It's not as rewarding, but it's permissible. You get half the reward. And so, for example, like Qiyam or Taraweeh, if you find yourself tired to the point that you're just going to sit in the back, it's better for you to sit down and pray. If you feel like you're so worn out and so tired that you're going to leave the prayer to go sit in the back or go to your car and go home because you're tired, just sit down and stay seated and pray. And at the very least, you'll be getting half of the reward for prayer, as opposed to nothing at all. So here, he's talking about one of the best ways to read the Quran, and that is while you're in prayer, standing, while you're in the masjid. As in regards to the portion, how much should you read? Then the scholars, they differ here. In regards to what the adat, the habits of the pious were in the past. It says, from the pious of the past, they used to recite the Quran in its entirety every day and every night. Then there were those that would complete the Quran fil yawm wa layla akthar min dhalik. They would read even more than that in the night and the day. Then there were those that would read kana yakhtamu fi thalathin. Every 3 days they would have a khatmah. And then there were those that every week they would have a khatmah. Wa minhum kana yakhtamu fi kulli shahr. Everyone. Then there were those that would read once a month. They would complete the Quran once a month. Why just once a month? He says because ishtighalan bitadabbur. They were busy pondering and reflecting. Not because they would just take 10 minutes here and then walk away. No, but because when they were reading, they would stop and they would think and they would reflect and then they would carry on. Right? So this was the way of the pious. And it's a good gauge. I know that, you can't spend all of your time, and that comes here. He does mention some of that. He says, so those that were only able to read once a month in its entirety is because they were busy either with tadabbur, to ponder and reflect, or because they were spreading knowledge, they were teaching other things, or they were teaching the Quran, or they were busy with some other type of worship besides recitation, or they were busy making a living. They were busy earning. Right? So here you go, kind of a standard is, you should make a plan that at least you complete the Quran in its entirety once a month. So you have 30 ajza, 30 sections, 30 juz. So you plan that every day you're going to complete one. And it should take you between 30 to 45 minutes, depending on your speed and your ability to recite. And at the most, it would take you an hour. If you're just very, very slow and you're stumbling a lot, it could take you at most an hour. So you try and break that up if you need to. So you read a little bit in the morning time after Fajr, you read a little bit before you go to sleep at night or before dinner, before you get overly heavy, and you find yourself 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, and you've read the Quran in its entirety one day, you've done your wird, and then by the end of the month you've completed an entire cycle, if you will. So he says the priority here is that you're not prevented from taking care of your obligations, right? You don't get prevented. The Quran, reciting the Quran, trying to make khatma every day or more than once a day or something of that nature, it shouldn't prevent you from doing what you need to do. It should not harm you, like physically, because you're exerting yourself. And also, you shouldn't be reciting hastily, trying to just stack up completions at the cost of understanding and reflection. Right? So you're not just in a race here to see who can do the most. That's not the intent of the Quran's revelation. The intent behind the revelation is as guidance for mankind. So that has to be considered. Ibn Abbas, he says, for me to recite Al-Baqarah and Al-Imran, and for me to really recite them properly and to ponder over them is more beloved to me than to read the entirety of the Quran quickly. He says, whoever finds time to sit, to read, they should take advantage of that and read a great deal in order that they can be successful with a great deal of reward. If you have the time to sit and read a lot, then you should sit. You get the reward for that. Uthman ibn Affan, here we go back to the narrator of our first hadith, or one of our first hadith, he would read the Quran fi rak'atin. In one rak'ah, he would read the Quran in witr. That would be the last rak'ah that he would read in witr, and he would recite the entirety of the Quran. Imam al-Shafi'i kana yakhtimu fi Ramadan 60 khatma. He would complete the Quran 60 times in Ramadan, which meant twice a day. Read one at night, read one at day. 30 days are gone. You've done 60 times. Right? And so some people may say, is that even possible? It's not possible. You talk to your Sheikh Rashid, he'll tell you. He'll tell you it's possible. It can be done. It's not outside of this is not like an extreme exaggeration. It doesn't just mean they read a lot. What it means is they read what they read. And you speak to anyone that's memorized the Quran, because now we're talking about hufaz. Hafidh of the Quran reads differently than somebody that doesn't memorize. They're not stumbling through. They're not reading, like it's new to them. But they've already memorized. They're very familiar. It's just the open pages are there as cues, and they're just going. And they're just going through. Yeah. And it's not like what we experience in Taraweeh, where the Imam is reciting and he's just giving every letter its due, following this takes harakatain and this takes arba harakat and this takes 6 or whatever, the amount of the meter of the recitation. But you can read, there's different styles and techniques of reading. Some that is read very quickly and then some that is read at a moderate pace, and then some which is read very slowly, like what we hear from Abdul Basit and Minshawi and the great Egyptian scholars that would, or reciters that would just take a long, very slow, melodious recitation. Not like that. Now, of course, that will take you days to get through.
Yeah, if you do 4 juz in 1 hour, so it make you 7 hours. Like if you can 4 juz. 4 juz.
Yeah, you can.
7
that easily.
So 14 hours you can have 2 Qurans, almost 14, 15.
If you take 4 juz in 2 hours.
In 1 hour.
In 1 hour.
7 4s are 28.
Sure.
7.5 hours.
So you're spending your day. I mean, that's how they're spending their day. Yeah.
But these are like, they're not just reading the Quran, they're probably doing something else and reciting it, right? Or they just sitting and reading.
Well, I mean, you're talking about prayer in witr. You're standing in prayer. So you're just praying. And you're in Ramadan, so Imam Shafi'i more than likely has dedicated himself in Ramadan for itikaf or has freed himself up for devotion. All right, he took his vacation days. Yeah. As for a regular habit, right? So sometimes during special times and special places, that's when you increase the amount of Quran being recited. Special times and special places is when you will increase what's normal. But as for your normal habit, then this needs to be based on your ability, as he indicated before. You don't want it to impede your livelihood. You can't allow it to impede your livelihood or cause difficulty on you physically, or to get in the way of actual understanding. Okay, so you want to have a moderate habit which is healthy. You don't want to be negligent and just don't do anything at all. At the same time, you don't want to get yourself jammed up and wrecked. He said it's preferred that, some of them preferred that if you complete the Quran in the daytime, that you do it fi rak'atay al-fajr, أو بعدهما, that you complete it, that you time it in a way that you complete it during the 2 rak'ahs of Fajr prayer or right after those 2. And that if you complete the Quran at night, that you complete it في ركعتي المغرب أو بعدهما, the first rak'ahs of Maghrib prayer or after that. And the reason for this is that you complete the Quran while you are beginning either the day or you're beginning the night. So you begin the night on a good note, you begin the day on a good note, you've completed the Quran. One of the great companions of Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he says, whoever completes the Quran, then his supplication is mustajaba. It's answered. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer those who have completed the Quran, meaning they read through it one time. Anas radiallahu anhu, he says, whenever إِذَا خَتَمَ الْقُرْآنِ, or he didn't say this, this is his practice, whenever he would conclude the Quran, he would gather his family together, وَدَعَى, and he would make supplication. Da'wah mustajaba.